Hello, everyone. My name is Lucian. Most of you know me from Twitter as Triangle Investor. In today's edition of CEO and Market Expert Interviews, I'm joined by Dev Randhawa, a well-known name in uranium business, representing two exploration companies, F3 Uranium and Strathmore Plus. Dev, it is great to have you again in my show. Thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for having me on. I enjoy your show, and I like the detail and due diligence you do before you put stuff on Twitter and stuff. It's thought out, and I like that.
Thanks, man. Dev, let's start with the WNA Symposium in London. You were there last week. There was creme de la creme of uranium and nuclear energy business people there. So with who were you talking to? What did you learn there? And what was the overall experience?
Well, there were two fantastic meals. One was sponsored by Dave Wargo at Sprott. Another one by Bruce Tatters and Dave Talbot, primarily at the Cinnamon Club for Red Cloud. They did these two, and then I think there were lunches by Canaccord and stuff. But you're right, you know, it was a chance to sit down with other, you know, other players, Amir, you know, Adani, and then, you know, Mark Chalmers of the type, you know, Dennison was there, Next Gen, Lee was there in full form. And so it was just a chance, and we all agreed that for the first time in our industry, you're really seeing a real push from everybody that we need more power, and we need more clean power. And I think people are waking up and realizing that renewables aren't going to do it. So I think that's the big piece that I see differently than all the years I've been doing this since 1996, is that, and I think the U.S. especially is due for some major, you know, pull-ups. I think you got to keep in mind is that, you know, processed uranium jumped up very significantly a year ago, right? It went, you know, up by, you know, was it multiples, and so, but we are behind. So it won't surprise me if we have $70 uranium here fairly soon, and that's very significant numbers, because you're starting to talk about production in the U.S. and that magic number, because that was the number that they were giving bids on. The U.S. government was giving bids on, saying if you produce here, we'll give you $70. So it's very significant. We're getting into that significant time frame. So, but I think all of us, we're just talking. You know, I think if you're in gold and precious metals, it's a very tough place to raise a penny. Whereas anything with transition, nickel, for example, obviously lithium and uranium. The advantage uranium has, we have less names. You know, there's just a lot less uranium projects in the world that can work. Lithium, man, they're talking hard rock now. When I first looked at it with American Lithium and stuff, unless it was a brine, you never looked at it. Now, it can be anywhere, any form, and stocks are multiples of going through the roof. So anyway, so I think you're seeing the general market now getting behind it. And I believe, like, someone has a picture or a meme of an elephant, you know, jumping into a little kid's pool. And where are all these stocks? That's what's going to happen when more money comes in. But you're seeing it. Look how well, you know, stocks like FCU have done in the last while. It's up 25, 30%. 33 to 40% the stock is up. And finally, people are realizing quality assets in North America. And that's the other thing I think we got to talk about, the elephant in the room, and that's Niger. Politically safe places do matter. And there's an example. You know, I've always said, you look at America, look at the US, and look at Canada. These are very safe jurisdictions where you simply can't take somebody's asset. You can't do that. They'll try, governments will try, but here, down in Niger, you had, you know, people's stocks fell 40%, you know, because there's a coup going on, and even if business is normal. So I think it's important for investors to really look at uranium projects. There's fewer names, and look at North American names.
Agreed. Well, most of the investors want to know what happens next, not in 6 months. They want to know what will happen in a month. As we see now in the last couple of days, there is a lot of big news that puts a big pressure on uranium prices. First, we saw chemical challenges at the Cigar Lake mine and Key Lake mill that are expected to impact 2023 production forecast. Then we are hearing that 3 or even 4 new physical funds could enter the market. Is this a perfect store for uranium, Dev?
It is. Like I had one fellow call up a friend of a friend, and they said, "I just sold all my Nigeria stocks. I just want to get something in the U.S." And that's what really kicked off that little financing we did in Strathmore. Was that somebody just wanted to say, "I'm not taking more political risk. I want to be in the U.S. and I want to be in a safe jurisdiction." Well, Strathmore is in Wyoming. You know, they at one time had over almost 80%, and I think the future of uranium is Wyoming. So I think, you know, all these things we've talked about, people have ignored. Renewables won't work. It will not solve the problem. We just have too much demand. We have way too much demand for electricity to count on renewables to do it. It's just not going to happen. You just have to look at poster child like California, or worse, the worst case, of course, is of silliness is what Germany did, wasted $1 trillion of taxpayers' money to achieve nothing. So yeah, I think it's that time that for us. But a $10 move, also remember uranium go from 70 to 100, and the consumer at the end for the power hardly notices anything, because uranium, remember, is only 3 to 5% of running a nuclear plant. So therefore, what's really important is these changes, how they impact us. For it to go from 60 to 100, all these stocks will double and triple. But the end consumer is not going to face that on his bill. Whereas different with coal. If coal prices double, the consumer will pay double. That's not the relationship that you have with uranium.
Yeah, agreed on that, definitely.
Right. If you're asking me, the next few months are very exciting, and you're seeing it in the stocks. You're seeing, look at Cameco. You know, Cameco just keeps flying. And NextGen, it's flying. They're all hitting 52-week highs. These are big billion-dollar companies.
Definitely. Dev, let's touch a little bit on F3. You announced yesterday closing of the 20 million private placement. Please tell us where is that money going, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we are seeing a big interest around F3, and you could probably raise even more money if you wanted, right?
We could have. We went out. Funny thing is, something snapped, you know, in August or something, and beginning of August, the end of August, when we went out there to talk to a few people, they said maybe 4 to 5 million. Yeah, that's doable. Might move to a bit more. When we went back out to actually do it, we're in the middle of other things. 2 accounts came up and said we'll do 10 each. So we could have, you know, done a lot more, and a multiple of that. But you know, you also got to remember, you have to spend this money in the ground by end of December 2024. So we took what we think was a right amount, not 10, not 30, 20. Yeah. We think we can use that wisely, and 90% of that money will go towards PLN, because we've got now PLA 1A conductor, 1AB. The second one, because we found another structure that runs parallel. So we think we have more use for that money. But it just shows you that how much demand there is. The reality is that, and I don't think I'm saying any people would disagree with, but the whole idea is that deposits come from high grade. So you've got to look for deposits that are super high, and discoveries that are high grade. Well, there's only one out there. I'm not going to go bash other names, but I'm going to tell you that industry people are realizing there's only one player out there that's got a high grade discovery, you know, over 2%. And it's only 150 meters down. So it's shallow and it's high grade, and that's F3. Just a super job Ray and Sam have done. And now they found another structure. You know, we're realizing now that, you know, we're going back and redoing some of the information we did 5, 8 years ago. We're redoing it to make it look like, okay, Now that we know what we know here, how do we interpret old information? So that's what's kind of been going on with Ray and Sam as well. In addition to overseeing the drilling, they're also evaluating what information has come in.
Like you said, shallow and high grade, the best combination. And also you said first assay results for PLN were excellent. You had some spectacular hits again, 18 meters of 8.8 U308. Then you have 11.5 interval averaging almost 14% of U308. That's spectacular. How is the second phase going, Dev? And what are you seeing there? And what can we when can we expect next drilling results to come out?
Well, I can't tell you that, but you know, I want to make sure that we're always staying inside our rules. You know, well, you know, also you got to be careful about making announcements during a funding, right? So we've been careful about collecting, and we also like to do them in groups, because early on I got it where every hole was important. We're living and dying by every hole at one time. That time is done, and now we're trying to discover pods. We're trying to find new areas and also grow the one fat zone we're growing right now. We want to grow it, but look for other pods. You know, again, you can drill 10 meters away from the wrong area or below it or above it and miss it. So, you know, we've got to get investors away from this mentality that if you don't hit there, it's no good. That's not true. You know, you think investors would catch on, but they don't. I've talked to enough investors. They somehow think that this uranium is like a big block of uranium that just runs forever and you can put a hole anywhere. But if you miss, it's over. It's not. Uranium does this. It pinches in, pinches out, and you don't know when it's going to start or pinch back in. You just don't know. And so you got to be very patient about it. But if you're going to count on somebody, I think you count on somebody who's made 3 discoveries. So I just tell people to calm down. Okay, let's not try to live and die by every drill hole. Let's let the experts do their job. And most people have never found 1 deposit, let alone 2, and no one's found 2 before. Ray's on the number 3. So let's trust the message, trust the management team to, you know, to put together a strategy that maximizes all our shareholders' wealth.
Dev, you mentioned the next steps for PLN. My question regarding that is, how much of exploration is still required to put this in the resource category?
Well, it depends when you want to cut it off, but you never do that. You know, first you do a PEA. You're going to do, there's all sorts of steps, and you can redo them, right? But, you know, generally people after 18 months look at that sort of thing. I rarely seen it after a year. Most of the time it's about 2 years, because you want enough data to make sense. But I think if you follow some of the writings of people, they'll give you, there's people reports out there, what they think there. You know, before the last assays, I heard, I'm not saying I support them or any way, for 15 to 20 million pounds, more assays came out. You know, like I said, it took 200 holes and 2 years for ISO to find 50 million pounds. Okay, it's a very high grade, but it still takes time. And investors have to know that. But the main thing is, you talked about it. Are we in the uranium space? Tick that box. Is it high grade? Tick 2 boxes. The right technical team, tick another box. And that's the box. You look for those boxes, and that's what you invest with.
Good point, Dev.
I get everybody wants us to put out a result every hour if we could. I know that. My phone is full of it. Where are you going? Where's the next? What's the next? And I sometimes, that's why I don't see me on Twitter much, because they want inside information. Like, they somehow think that I'm going to send some stranger inside information and risk my career. Like, it's absurd. You know, I love the online community, but also some of them need to take a bit more volume.
Excellent point. Dev, my next question, are you using any new technology on this drilling or taking any different approach in evaluating the data you collect from the drilling?
Well, I think what you're pointing to without saying is artificial intelligence. We're looking at it. because when I was over in London, I found out that two of our competitors are doing it, and one of them is a very large competitor, maybe the largest in the world. So that kind of threw me back. And so, yeah, I've spoken to Ray about that, and we're looking at it and finding the right team who can maybe take all our drill data and put it together and help us, become more of a predictive, if you can. The question will be, how much is machine, how much is man, right? I don't have that answer. We're all in new territory here, but I know there's a U.S. company, large company, looking at it. I know that a big group in Europe's already using it. But we've never used it before, and we found 3 deposits. So I'm hoping it can help us get better. You want to be eclectic, you take the best of.
Yeah, definitely. One other thing that investors want to hear all day long regarding your resources on this property. I know that the question is more hypothetical, but with your experience and your knowledge, I believe you can give me an answer. And that is, do you have any idea how big this resource could be?
No clue.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. You're an absolute, I don't know a bigger fool in the world that would try to guess that. What you have to look at is, again, people want clarity, and there isn't clarity when it comes to drilling, because until one of us have a godlike ability to look under the ground and see it, we can't. So we're using geophysics, geoscience, and I think we're doing a pretty good job, right? When somebody out there finds 2 deposits, we'll chat. We've already found 3. So all I know is that our team is well funded. Again, we need to get our heads out of the sand and stick it in some sunshine and go, okay, you're in uranium. Excellent. You've got 30 million in the bank. That's pretty good. And more importantly, that money is in the hands of great technical people who understand geoscience, who understand geology, and et cetera. That's what you're counting on, is management. But I've said the same thing when the stock was 5 cents. I said the same thing when it was 20, 30, 40. I'll say the same thing always, is that, unless one of us have X-ray vision, nobody knows. I'm sure Twitter crowd like me to say there's £1 billion out there at 100%. No, let's have £1 billion at 100% uranium. Isn't that what people want to hear? But the thing is that investing requires risk. But there are very, very clear ways to mitigate risk. Great people, well-funded, with properties that are well endowed. And that's what we have. We've got the big boxes. And from that point, you're not going to get more clarity than that. You just simply can't. I know people want clarity. But Mother Teresa, someone asked Mother Teresa once, she says, I want to know this and that about God. And she says, no, God doesn't give clarity, he gives faith. And I'm saying is that, trust in the track record of Ray Ashley, Sam Hartman, and before that, Ross McElroy. Trust in the track records, okay? And whether you want to give the ball to Messi or who else you want to give the ball to. And that's what you're doing. You're giving the ball to a superstar team.
Excellent point. I have to ask you this. Are the big boys sniffing around your PLM project? And would you even consider to sell this project at this phase if you keep adding the value with every drill campaign?
Well, again, you're a fool to say, oh, I'm going to sell it to somebody. You don't know. I think for us, we always hope for the best, but plan for the worst. What I mean is, if we have to take this all the way, we take it all the way. Next Gen's done it. Other people can do it. Oh, they're doing it. Oh no, we sign NDAs with all the big players. A big player would be foolish not to sign one because it's the best exploration play out there. And investors get tired of these companies that have one project and no pipeline. Like, we can name a few and I won't, but they want to see a pipeline of projects. If not, you get stuck, these development companies get stuck in the bottom of the Lassonde curve. you've seen that. It shoots up, discoveries made, and comes down and sits flat for several years. Then it goes back up again when you start to mine. So the big companies have to be looking at F3 because that's how they can possibly add to their incubation projects that they've got. You know, you may have a big project, but you need to have a second and third. Otherwise, investors go, oh, and they lose interest in your stock, you know. But so I absolutely, there are people looking at it. That's one of the reasons I went all the way to London for 3 nights, was to shake hands with all the players that I could find and say, hey, you know, we're always open to doing joint ventures, equity participation, or outright takeout. We're open to it. But like everybody else, price is the issue. You know, I'm here to make as much money as I can for you and all our investors. So when the price is right, of course, you never walk away from that. At the same time, you know, but that we have de-risked the project. What I don't know if people understand, by raising $20 million, okay, we have de-risked the project. Now, we don't care if the market crashes. We've got a lot of money to develop this. We've got lots of money now. We can really go after PLN, that system. We can look at it with fresh eyes, right? We can also, with some of that money, move Murphy Lake along. So this financing, it tells you how much investors like F3, and number 2, how it's de-risked the project. Now, we just finished a financing, so the stock's a bit sloppy. I see that. So we're going to hopefully do some things to get the story out a bit better. But yeah, there's the big boys around, and the right time to do it is the right price. If someone gave me the right price, of course. If not, I'm not worried. I've got the best technical team around, and I know they will grow it. If I felt it's over, done, no more growing, yeah, then you would sell. But we've only been doing this since last November. It's only been 9 months, right, or 8 months. It's not that, 10 months. It hasn't been that long, right? Remember we said ISO took 2 years, 200 holes to get to 50 million pounds. That's a good example. Now, same thing with us. We just got into it November 21st last year, right? And so, you know, we're still at that 9-month stage. So we just got into it. But I realize we're in a bad market generally overall. People are anxious. I get that. I'm not, you know, I've got portfolios too in gold. I've seen them, you know, what's going on. But just like I said, well-funded, high grade discovery with the right technical people running it.
Yeah.
What else do you want to bet on?
Yeah. Dev, you touched on joint ventures a few moments ago.
Right.
I spoke with Sherman Dahl from SKRR Exploration on Clearwater West property you optioned to them.
Right.
This property has fantastic location and surrounds very well-known projects like Next Gen Aero, Fission, Triple R. My question is, what do you think about this deal, and will there be any similar deals on your other properties which are not in your focus at the moment?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, first of all, Sherman's a very smart guy. He knows how to raise money. He's been a stockbroker and had good successes in the capital markets. So again, where do I keep preaching? Nobody wants to listen, but people. Junior stocks are only about one thing: people. Forget the rest, throw the rest out, because good people will find good projects. They will know what a good project is, and they will go raise money for it because their track record. So just keep that in mind. Sherman gets results, he will. It's location. So it's a great area, you know, but you got to do some work. You know, Mother Nature doesn't hand you a drill hole. You've got to go out there, raise the money, drill. But again, he's working with Ray Ashley and Sam. So it's the right location with good people. If somebody is going to make a go of it, it will be someone like Sherman.
Yeah, odds are in his favor, definitely, with team and with the property he has. Do you have at this moment any other negotiations for other properties?
Oh, you're always talking. Like, again, why did I go to London for 3 days? Because I really like going to London for 3 days and not sleep for 3 days? No, it's about to go out and meet people. And, but our industry is still not awake. The juniors are not still there yet. When you're at the top of the market, when they start selling their pot stocks and gold stocks to do uranium, that's when you're near the top. Well, we're not near the top, so we got lots of room. You're always looking for joint venture partners, but we also know that we've got to keep focus. There's only one Dev, one Ray. So I've got to make sure we focus on what we think is important, which was, until yesterday, was raising $20 million. That's our focus. There's an old saying, first things must stay first, or you lose number 2 and 3 as well. Yes. That's C.S. Lewis. So you just got to focus, and I know the markets are starved for news, but that's also what makes most investors don't make much money. They jump. Oh, what's the latest? I know that's what it's about. I know I come on your show, everybody wants me to say there's £1 billion, 100% uranium. That's what people want to hear. They do. But the reality is life doesn't work that way. It's a grind. Finding this, look, this project, people forget, we're drilling down here. We took a shot, made it. But you could only done that if we had money in the bank. We could only done that if we know how to hire the right crews. We could only done that if we know geology. So look at the way success is found, and you try to consistently keep doing that. That's what Sherman's trying to do. That's what everybody's trying to do. But investors have to realize if it was really easy, everybody would be doing it. Yeah. Everybody would be raising 20 million. So let's get our heads out of it. Just settle down, and bet on fewer people. I know I've seen most portfolios and they're horrifying to me. When an average investor shows me his portfolio, I go, oh my God, that's the recipe for a heart attack. Pick fewer names, follow them carefully. That's a better way, I think, of investing than every hot new idea that comes to the door.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, let's cover Strathmore Plus as well. Another perspective story with high expectations from your shareholders. You have also ongoing private placement, like you said, for raising 2 million Canadian. I read that 70% of that is going towards drilling and reclamation, 10% for geophysical, and the remainder for GNA. Do you know the ratio of how much is going in the Night Owl project, how much on Agatha, and how much on Beaver Rim?
Well, we're not finished that budget. And so if we hit a Night Owl, you're going to put money in Night Owl.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. And so those are budgets if they're budgets, but really at the end of the day, our focus will be Night Owl because we know there's uranium there and a GAT. And so, those are, because another thing you got to remember is the Americans are different from Canadians. Americans, they don't have to have, if they do work on a project, they don't have to file it with the government, right? In Canada, you have to. So when someone comes along in Canada, we've got all the advantage of the data. We don't have that down there. So you have to make sure you got the property and the data. So we are now putting together our own data. That's what we're going to be drilling here in Night Owl. We'll do some drilling at all our projects, but we have a priority, right? And so I always say that's a budget. Everybody has a budget, but if we have success somewhere, we're going to chase that success. That's what you do. And the market cap's only $24 million on Strathmore. You got to be crazy not but to own it. And if you saw the article today on the U.S., I'll send you a couple of things. U.S. uranium is the place to be. It is because, Americans are very quick to learn and they're quick to move compared to other, countries sometimes. They see it, they'll get on it. And when they start to see how much power shortage they're going to have, look, we all know it's a farce to talk about electric cars, but there's not enough copper. There's not enough nickel. And most of all, there's no energy to leave them on the road. So America knows that. So I see them being a bit more proactive than perhaps others.
Yeah, they are. Dev, would you consider to stake more ground there in Wyoming? And is there any ground available for staking there?
Oh, yeah. There's always land, but what good does that do if it's got no uranium on it? I mean, you go buy a ranch with no cows on it? No. So you're always looking, but our strategy, if you remember, has always been to stake. So, but you've got to have a reason to. It's got to make sense up here first, and then, okay, let's grab it. We grabbed Night Owl because we believed it. Then we flew the area. We extended our package, and that's what we do. We go into the area, assess it, fly it, and basically what we're trying to do with Night Owl is use modern day technologies for something that was drilled in 1950s. Hear me again, the 50s, early 60s. We're talking 60 years ago it was drilled. Who knows what's under there? So that's why I'm so excited about that project. If it can make money back then just with a pick and shovel, what could you do with using modern technology? Like unleashing a geoscientist like Ray Ashley on it or something, the opportunities there. And AGAT is amongst the giants. When you drive there, there's chemical, there's UEC, there's UrEnergy, it's all there. And that's why Wyoming, I think, is the best place to be.
Yeah, definitely. But when you're mentioning Wyoming, when you compare Wyoming and Saskatchewan in terms of doing business, which one is more mine and business friendly?
Both are fantastic. I would say, I think Fraser Institute is a Canadian group. They'll say, Saskatchewan is, but both are fantastic. Look, University of Wyoming even has a uranium section of studies.
Yeah.
Right. That was pretty fantastic. And they went to their government and got money for us. So that's pretty friendly. That's pretty exciting to me. But what Cameco has done to lay the groundwork for things to be found and go into production, there's no words for it. As you know, Cameco was a government entity, and then it went private. So they set all these wonderful rules in place to make sure we do it properly and get it out of the ground.
Yeah. Are you in contact with your neighbors there, Cameco, UrEnergy?
Yeah, very much so. Again, it's not a news release I'm going to make. Oh, I had lunch with so and so. That's tacky bullshit.
No, I mean friendly talk,
but
like neighbor talk.
Of course you do. Of course you do. The first thing when you go to a neighborhood, you buy cookies for everybody in the area. Same thing.
Of course.
In this case, it might be whiskey. I don't know. No. John Cash is a very strong technical person at UrEnergy. I'm a big fan of his team there. Amir's done phenomenal things. And look what he's the go-getter, right? Cameco wants out of the U.S. because they want to focus on Canada. That's fine. Hopefully, it finds a buyer for what they do.
Yeah.
And so, you're always talking to them. But the thing is that, your main focus has to be running your projects, not throwing parties. So, for our neighbors, so we're always talking to them, because you're competitors, but you're also together. Together we want to promote Wyoming. Together we want to promote the U.S.
Yeah. Dev, where do you see Stratmore in 5 years?
I have no idea. Well, tell me the price of uranium. Okay. Tell me the price of uranium, what it costs to build something. Tell me how many pounds of uranium I'll have, and I'll tell you. So, how many pounds of uranium will I have? What will be the price of cost of production? Well, tell me all those things. I'll tell you where it'll be.
Few factors are unknown. Definitely, I agree.
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years. I don't know where the world's going to be in 30 days. Look what's happened in 30 days. The one thing I am confident of is change. That's one thing I know. But we're all waiting for that black swan event. That's what we're all waiting for. Something that's going to trigger for the positive, whether it's Cameco having, I hate to say that, but if they have more issues there, or something at a mine somewhere else where production drops, that supply and demand determine everything. That's what we need. It might be government interference. I don't know. I think that 5 years is impossible. I think we can expect good things if the world continues to wake up and realize we need more energy and we need clean energy. Uranium is going to be a good place for a long time.
Agreed. Dev, can you tell me more about the team behind Stratmore?
The what?
Sorry, the team behind Stratmore. Your
the
team.
Team. Oh,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I think I've said it about 100 times, but John is a legend. It's all over the websites. The secret to, again, what did I say is the most important thing in a junior company? What did I say was the most important thing?
People.
There you go. Our company's based on John DeJoya, Terrence, Ozzy, and myself. That's how we got together. John has forgotten more about uranium than most people will ever understand. He himself has mined 22 million pounds out of the basin. So he knows every part from exploring to permits to mining. He's done it all. And his mind has got some great ideas. Terrence is our boots on the ground, right? And he's the boots on the ground, get stuff done. He's got good relationships all through the BLM and everybody else. Fantastic guy for that. And so that's the key. The rest of us here to support them. I'm out there to raise money. I'm out there to, find out who likes U.S. uranium. And then, hey, what do you think of our project? Fantastic.
Yeah, and the company has very tight share structure. And my question for you is skin in the game. How many shares do you own personally in Stratmore and the
that's on CDAR. That's all on CDAR, but I mean, I think it's around 10. I've never checked. You may not believe this, but I don't care how many shares I own, as long as I own lots, right? I don't take a salary. That's the question you should be asking, is how much money do I take out each month?
How much?
Zero.
Tell me.
Zero. Because I will wait and swap, and I'll put in or write a check and take a salary. I don't take any cash out of the company because I want equity. Because I believe this is going to be worth more than 24 million. It could be worth 200 million someday. So why would I, an opportunity to own more stock? It's a cheap buy. F3 is a great buy because it's in Canada. It's got high grade, and it's only going to grow bigger based on what we've seen. Strathmore is a no-brainer because you've got a world-class management team with a former producer for under 24 million Canadian. If you're going to have a portfolio in uranium, you got to own these stocks.
Yeah, good point. Dev, that's it. I want to thank you for being my guest, and I wish you luck with both Stratmore and F3 Uranium, and let's keep in touch.